Yeah, so gender dysmorphia in like India. That's her. All right. Anyway, all great thoughts. Let's bring this back to center a little bit. Um,
One comment on that.
yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
so my friend Scott, I talked to him last night for a while out Portland. He's like mid 50s, and he asked me. He said, "Have you ever seen uh, Bob Odenkirk's first show?" I said, "Mr. Show with David Cross," and he said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "It's one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen."
Oh, Bob
And
Odenkirk is a genius.
and in
Yeah.
the first or second episode of that, they're t- they're talking about how and this is in like 94 90
Hmm.
so 90s, and David Cross is like, well, the pansexual population, you see, we're going to, they're two customers, they're going, so we're going to get them both ways, and it's all about, so, and the fact that that was in, and
In
anyway, my friend
1994.
Scott was like, it was so prescient of them to like write something like that, and so that was it. That's the
That's David Cross. He's funny, but then you like hear him in real life without him being funny, and that guy's like really bitter, like about a whole lot of things. I think he's bitter about his career, but it's whatever. It's fine. I would be too if like Arrested Development was like the height of my of my thing, and then
hey, he was on tour for comedy
a
for
long time,
for a long time.
long time tour. Well, that tour can get you. Like you go out on the road, and that's it. So we've covered a lot of ground here. I mean, we talked about your past a little bit. We talked about your dad. We talked about your morning oblations, and all that. We also talked about some stuff that we've had to cut from the podcast. We're not going to revisit that, but we did talk about some of those things. If you want to hear more about that, you can pick up part one of this podcast. So in part two, which is what we're starting on right now, we're going to want to fast forward a little bit to like current things, right? So you and I met in 2002. Yeah, 2002. At it was Burlington County College. Now it is Rowan Community College. Oh, look at that. I just saw a breaking news thing flash across my phone. Elon Musk buys Twitter for $44 billion.
Drop in the bucket.
Drop of the bucket. He just found some change in his couch cushions.
He didn't realize he hasn't checked his PayPal account in quite some time.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. That's tweetable. Hey, that's a tweet. God, I'm gonna go on record here. I saying A, that couldn't have happened to a better group of people, and B, I hope, and I know this won't happen, but like I hope he just yanks the plug out of the wall on that thing. I'm gonna go public and say that. I just hope, yes, just delete Twitter, buy it and delete it. What do we need that for?
I mean, that would be amazing.
It would be. He would achieve Tony Stark Iron Man 1 status.
I mean, it's a statement.
All of you all should be thanking me. I've successfully privatized social media. And then just put on his sunglasses and then just walk out of the congressional committee while Gary Shandling is just yelling at him.
Well, it'd be awesome if he had an Iron Man suit. If
It
he
would
like that
be.
was his.
Some people have gotten up after him about that on Twitter. They have. They're like, dude, why don't you just build an Iron Man suit? He's like, yeah, I don't have time.
It's beneath me.
It's me. I just bought this platform. Shut up. Anyway, okay, cool. Well, that now makes this current. So yeah, fast forward to what you're doing now. So we met 2002. You were starting. We were starting a literary magazine, which was a loose leaf sheet of paper that said "Sign up." I distinctly remember coming along because this is the time. This is who I was at the time. Going, are there groupies for literary magazines? And you confidently assured me that there are groupies for everything. And I was like, I'm sold. I'm in, because that's where my brain was at the time. This is before marriage and children and maturity and, well, semi-maturity and everything else. And then, yes, I remember you're ODing and you didn't want to see me at the hospital. You were like, don't come. don't come see me. Um, and that was fine. I mean, I kind of got the sense that like that was not a state that you wanted me to see you in. But I did talk to your mom during that time and kept up with her. And your mom met my mom. That was really interesting. Mom meets mom going through the rye, and then because they're two radically different women. Um, and then I went to Bemidji State University, a university that I picked. I mean, this wasn't the whole reason, but you looked at the brochure for the university, and you looked at the lake and the trees, and you went, dude, that place looks peaceful.
By the way, all that the the situation you just described, the
Yeah.
interaction between our mothers, and that, like, if I knew that, it was, 18 years or 17 years ago, shortly after. And this is the first, the first several years that after the OD and the coma, I there, for all I know, I was just hearing everything you just said for the first time.
Oh, well, then I'm
So,
gonna update you on your own history.
so thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome. So I went to Bemidji State University, my alma mater, and then like we kind of fell out of circulation. I wound up working at University of Minnesota, did a whole bunch of different things there, had a numerous plethora of experiences. You had your plethora of experiences, which we will talk about here in just a minute, and and then I re-ran into you in like 2017, 2018. Married,
Oh, your
kids,
40th birthday.
on my 40th birthday, right when you brought a walking stick to my house and then
Yeah.
proceeded to beat me on my own lawn at croquet, which had been my game in college, which is an unbelievable short-sighted piece of thing for me, and I will correct that very quickly.
You had other people, friends, work friends that were there that you were entertaining and had to, like, I know how to, building work relationships is a completely different. Do you walk into the room and just dominate? You gotta, so I thought you were giving everybody a pass, to be honest with
You thought I
you.
was giving everybody a
I
pass?
know.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I think
I probably was.
you were in it for strengthening the interpersonal and business relationships.
That's true. I wasn't trying to go to the hole and dominate, even if it was the croquet wicket.
So thank you.
Well, croquet had been my game in college. I mean, that was my game. We wound up playing. No, we tried to play an Ivy League team, and they wouldn't play us. But apparently, that's what they do in the Ivy Leagues. They actually have like croquet tournaments and stuff. It's a huge thing.
I would have
Anyway,
liked to see you say, "Will you allow us
allow us.
to play you if I, Jesan Sorrells, take on your entire debate team and win?"
Actually, I would have my pro team, my team to take on like Harvard would have been a guy with black wind pants who was a chain smoker from Tennessee. A guy named Matt. I won't give his last name. He works in higher education. I don't want to ruin his career. But a guy named Matt who was about 5'8" and about 120 pounds, but could whip that mallet. And then my other buddy Chad Mo, he knows who he is. I would take him, and then a wascally Canadian who played hockey. I would take him. We molded him into something. That'd be my team, and we would dominate. We would just dominate.
I mean, anyone with the confidence to chain smoke and wear wind pants and be completely unfazed by, yeah, that's,
Good sense or
uh
anything.
yeah, yeah.
Just
Like, this is
unfazed.
like, I just imagine like that dude at like 9 years, 7 years old was in wind pants and chain smoking
His
and was,
nickname was Lumpy in college because that's basically. I mean, he never left his realm. He smoked out the window because that was on the cusp of the year in Minnesota where you could still smoke indoors, but they were like shifting it over, and all the people in the hinterlands of Minnesota were like, and they were all yelling. And it didn't matter. Like, the people down in Minneapolis had made the decision, so you're done. You're done, son. It's over. You just didn't procreate enough. Like, I'm sorry. There's not enough voters here. It's just not. You were too busy hiding in the woods behind a tree, talking about Finnish pride. You know. Well, I mean, ain't that the beautiful and brutal truth? Anyway, so yeah, no, he was from Tennessee. And he was a Seventh Day. Well, he is a Seventh Day Adventist. So I don't know how that all aligns with the chain smoking and the wind pants, but he was, and he was good with that croquet mallet. He was good, and he could intimidate. He could talk trash like nobody had ever seen before, just at a level that was unbelievable. Like, he could talk trash to Dennis Rodman and be okay with it.
Well, it's there's something about what you said a few minutes ago, the sign up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've recently come to, well, you mentioned the groupie thing.
Yes.
And, I'm coming back to this place. It's interesting. You said the other day about vocabulary and writing. You're like, if I know it, I'm just going to do it. It's not my problem. And it's yours. And so when recently I have kind of come full circle, that was kind of like, I don't know, in a way, a harmless manipulation to say there's groupies. Well, it's true. It's a true statement because there are groupies for everything. However, I was like, this is the only dude who's come by and he has attacked this from like the CEO, where do you see the club and, how do you feel the club will integrate into the campus?
It's a campus community.
How will this better? How will this, what affects blah, blah, and just going on and on and on. I was like, oh man, I better. And so I thought I needed to, like, when the groupie thing, I was like, yeah. So I just had to, like, I was just grabbing at anything that would get another member because I don't know, my codependent nature. And so, but that, like, passive manipulation thing, in a way, I saw everything in regard. It was like a really black and white thing, like sobriety early on, and then to the meat of it. And now there was a point of it where it was like, I just saw as everything that I used to do and think was wrong. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was entirely true. And so recently I've having conversations with people, they don't have to be so like black and white on it. Yeah. And so, and I know I just wanted to kind of comment on the.
No. I mean, but I mean, that's the growth from like 12 through like everything to like now at 40 some odd, where it's like, okay, yeah, like this is the arc. And we were talking about this in a different kind of context, previous to this conversation, but like that's part of owning your journey, just owning the thing that is you and going, yeah, this is me, and you're going to kick me out of this, like, place because you don't want me touching your stupid guitar and whatever, sir. And you have a good day. You have a good day, sir. And good day. And it's also part of something we've been talking about on the podcast these last few episodes, your episode, and there's another episode upcoming, a couple episodes upcoming, where we kind of talk about men and how men fit into society and culture. And it takes a long time for particularly modern guys. I would say anybody between the ages of 40 and like 55. It took all of us a long time to figure out what it actually meant to be a man, and some of us still haven't figured it out. That's why, like, Iron Man Legos still sell. Like, they're not selling them to, like, my 5-year-old, although he would buy them. They are cool. Like, he would want them. But they're selling them to me because I think they're cool.
Yeah, I mean, my brother bought all those Transformers for his son.
Right.
And it was like, he was over the moon that they came back in vogue.
Of course, because we're all like 12-year-old boys walking around, and we have an entire society and culture that's supporting that now. When it used to be like, no, drink your beer and chain smoke your cigarettes like your grandfather did. Drink your beer, chain smoke your cigarettes, and die of cancer. Shut up already. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and go to work.
Yeah, go to work. Pay the heating bill.
Yeah, like, be a man. Like, what's happening? And don't go pick up tampons for your wife at the store. Like, don't do that. Like, that's not what you do. And now all that's been inverted. for good or ill, that's all been inverted. But it's interesting to talk about that inversion because a lot of that doesn't get a lot of well, we talked about this previously, but like that gets all wrapped into like toxic masculinity, whatever the heck that means, and just nonsense. And it's just nonsense. It's just men have to figure out different ways to be men that matches the way that we were. Well, I'll make a biological assertion from here. Testosterone is a hell of a drug, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I have found it, and I've talked with a friend about this. Said it's just such a weird thing that and this isn't necessarily in the black and white. It's my desire to work on like emotional intelligence
Yeah.
And communicate more effectively and efficiently. And over the last 5 or 6 years, focusing heavily on those things and getting like sort of met with a resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you said this or someone else, and it along the lines of people they're not really geared up for kind of like honesty anymore. Yeah. No. And so it's kind of met with this resistance that, I've never felt like more efficient at that communicating, and so completely like oh my God, what is happening right now? You know, and it's like I don't know, kind of Confederacy of Dunces type situation.
Oh yes.
And it's like, and it just always, I come full circle. I'm like, no, I'm the dunce. I'm like, it's, yeah, it's so.
As Jordan Peterson would say, make your own bed, fix your own backyard first before you go out and repair the world. Like, do that. You can have enough problem with that. Make one room in your house beautiful. You're gonna have enough trouble with that. So that kind of arcs through the last 20 years, and so now we're here today. So yeah, I know you're involved with. There's like you're doing several different things. Like you're writing poetry, you're making music, you're going to open mics, you're doing some work with a nonprofit, correct? Talk a little bit about that. You're doing some of that. You've also got a book that came out a few years ago. I'm sure you'd like to hawk, or at least talk about on the podcast. And of course, you are looking for work, which is the perpetual kind of thing. But not necessarily looking for work in terms of, hey, I'm broke and unemployed and I'm really doing this for somebody's house because like I'm going to go into the cardboard box out back. I'm not Elon. I don't have a few billion in my in my couch cushions. Or maybe you do. Like billionaires actually do dress like you. Like Jack Dorsey, he's the last guy I saw that actually kind of like all you got to do is like braid your beard and then you're like Jack Dorsey. Like you're all the way there.
No, I've met a few people at open mic, and one guy is an attorney, and he's like, he's like, I make like more money than I even, and he's got 4 kids, divorced, and I think he said he has 100 guitars, and they're not like, the entry level Ibanez. Right. He has like, $5,000 Gibsons, and I'm just like, you have 100 guitars? And he's like, yeah, they're just in this thing. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. And so, and I said something along the lines. I was like, well, I don't know. Oh, what he commented on was, he said, he said, what he'd been up to. And I said, I'm finally getting back to work. I've been working on this sort of website and working on this other writing projects and some music, and I feel more confident. And he said, I love that when you say you're going back to work, it has nothing to do with a job. And I said, well, yeah, man. I was like, it's, once you kind of like, you figure out, and we've had this conversation years ago. It's like, once it's not that difficult to kind of make enough money to live well.
Right.
And kind of like move on use that as the foundation so you can do the other things.
Well, it's not that hard. Like, it's not that hard if you are not necessarily the Gulliver-like. No, I won't even frame it like that. If you haven't made choices to create obligations in your life and responsibilities that are going to require you to take on other things, then yeah, it's not that hard. It's really not, but that requires you to put other things on hold. Like, I'm not going to ask you like about wife and kids. Like, I'm not going to ask you that question because that's like really intimate and personal. And those are decisions that like have genuine financial consequences, and that's something that I think, going back to society and culture, societies and cultures, particularly our society and culture, used to be really good at explaining to men. Like, there's an actual financial cost to doing this thing, right? There's an actual financial cost to being a Johnny Appleseed and spreading your stuff all over the place. And there's a societal cost and there's a cultural cost. And by the way, we will hold you accountable for that cost. We just will. And then right around, I would say probably 68 to like 72, we kind of as a society decided that no fault divorce and a massive welfare state were the direction that we were going to go in. And now it's 2022 and here we are.
Well,
so there you go.
To kind
I'm not
of
putting
like,
any of that on you. None of that's about you. We all grew up in the shadow of all of that, and
oh,
we're just
yeah,
living
no,
in the space.
I mean, well, it's interesting that some people. There's this movie, Man on a Train.
Okay.
It's a foreign film. I suggest check it out. But and I'm not going to do the synopsis, but it's like the kind of like the summation, like the grass is always greener, or like the
Yeah.
and I just realized long ago, but like there's no grass to me. It's just it's a barren lot. It's the same barren lot you're standing in.
Same here, a lot you're saying, man.
And I've met people who are, it's not uncommon for people to like, wow, you're free.
Right.
You're free. You can do whatever you want. And it's like, well, so you can too.
Right.
So this isn't anything. And it's like, I said, yeah, there's a huge, exactly what you just said. I said, there's an enormous cost for me choosing to like kind of have this lifestyle. And I tried to get out of it, but that backfired. So, and that wasn't too long ago. And, it was within a year ago. And I was like kind of holding out and waiting. And it's not like I'm foreign to, like I said to you the other day, it's like, and this was in regards to the making enough money to sustain yourself. It's like, and I make a lot of really bad decisions. So like, and I don't know. And if you look at things from life is just the journey and the continuous growth and learning this and that, and you use what the information acquired along the way for the betterment of yourself or others, this and that, then, there's really no, kind of like fault or mistakes made in that sort of way. And I think you hit on it earlier. It's like, there's this, you're 43, you're going to be 44.
Oh yeah. No, I'm going to be 43.
You're going to be 43.
Yeah.
Babe, just a baby.
Yeah. Everybody says that.
Depends
on where you're standing and in what room.
and so I don't know if it is, I don't know how all these things sort of like intertwine, but whether it's the biological aging, whether it's like life experiences catching up, whether it's like my brain healing from the brain damage or that sort of thing, or all those things kind of like coalescing at once, and the world being in the state that it's in, and kind of like having this rebirth of gratitude for every single moment and every day, that it gets a little easier to kind of like process and let go and of things that are completely out of my control. So
yeah, well, in the Bible, God called Abraham, or Abram as it was, out of his father's house at like 75. So it's never too late to go on the road. It's just that's what I take from Genesis.
It's never too late to go.
It's never too late to go on the road. God ain't done with you until God's done with you. So
it's funny.
Never too late to go on the road.
I mean, that kind of works for the band Genesis too. If you look at before Phil Collins,
yes,
but
I read something the other day that like Phil's like, he can't drum anymore.
Yeah, I think he's got like arthritis, and or some other maybe degenerative thing, and also maybe some cognitive stuff that is
Wow.
like more of a genetic thing. So, um, yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, we are reaching the age where like now it's not celebrities dying, it's people we know.
Yeah, friends.
Right. Like I recently saw a obituary for someone who I knew personally, real nice guy, who ran an organization which I will keep nameless and will keep the name of it out of my mouth, but like knew this guy fairly well, and he helped me get a job when I needed a job, and allowed me to treat it in a way where it didn't feel like a job, which was great. And he like retired and then he died like 2 years later. And I'm just like, really? I guess we're there now. And I don't want to talk about mortality because that's a downer. But
Yeah, I mean,
but
yeah.
but at a certain point you reach a point where on a long enough timeline, as was stated in Fight Club, on a long enough timeline, everyone's survival rate drops to zero. And so, you can say that ironically and smile about it when you're like 25 and the years spread out before you. But when you get on the other side of 40, you're like, oh no, that's truth. Like that's real truth.
Well, I think to my advantage as far as that perspective goes, to have visited that place on a
Yeah.
couple occasions,
Right.
and and have to be sort of resuscitated and you know punched back into breathing or whatever, and so that's
By the way,
it yeah.
I'm going to ask you the question that Wyatt Earp asked Doc Holliday in Tombstone when Kurt Russell asks Val Kilmer in Tombstone when he's playing cards with him, and something about there being angels in heaven. No, it wasn't Val Kilmer, it was his little brother. And Kurt Russell goes, it was Kurt Russell's little brother he was asking him about, because Kurt Russell's little brother Virgil was going to go see a medium or whatever, to hear like the heavenly host or hear angels or whatever, which everybody was going to do in the late 1800s. Everybody was going to visit mediums and stuff. Harry Houdini made a whole career, a post-death career of being contacted, and he was never contacted. Anyway, that's a brilliant, brilliant move for a guy like Houdini. Anyway, so 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 what is it? Kurt Russell asks him. He asks his little brother. His little brother's like, "Oh, we can hear all the angels of like heavens or whatever." And Wyatt Earp goes, "Well, what do they got in hell? Like, what do they got? Like trumpets? Like, what do they got? Bells? They got down there?" And I shouldn't laugh about it, but like, it was so quick. Now, he came back with it so quick, but it goes to this idea of, which I did want to ask you a little bit about this, sort of, because people want to know, like, when you died, did you see anything? Did you have a near death experience? Or did you, or have you ever
It
thought
was
about it in sort of that kind of context at all?
I mean, absolutely. And it's interesting. And I don't know if I am going to answer the question truthfully,
Great.
be,
Whatever you answer you want to give is fine.
because I've, I have to, I have said it to people when asked, and much like that resistance thing, they tell me that's not what happened,
Okay.
and I find it fascinating that someone asked me a question and I answered directly, and they say, "Well, what do you really think?" And then I have to say something else.
Right. Yeah.
And I made a decision about 6 months ago to not. I said I'm not gonna I'm not gonna talk about this anymore because I can't say it without uh, uh, well, I can't say it without some sort of bias because I did the thing
Right.
or
No,
the
no,
thing
no.
did me, and
That's a legitimate answer.
and
Every question doesn't have to be answered.
well, here's the thing though. I mean, it's the best thing that ever happened to me,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and I recognize that, And and as far as the heaven and hell, you know, this is what I said a little bit ago about how I was when I was using and getting high, as versus to now, and like everything back then was all bad, and now I need to do good. And it's not necessarily what you said a moment ago about visiting in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital and
Mm-hmm.
guilt and shame.
Yeah.
So guilt and shame and guilt and shame, and the fact that I felt so. I went. I mean, there was people who I've known since I was 15 years old
Mm-hmm.
that I had a difficult time talking to until a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it was one of my friends was cancer, and it just
Mm-hmm.
about 5 years of really horrible things. And in the middle of that time period, I'm like strung out on heroin and living this difficult life.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get over the fact that I'm watching one of my closest friends on life support
Mm-hmm.
in a hospital room, and I'm living the way I'm doing what I'm doing, and I couldn't even enter the room. So there's like this entire component of guilt and shame wrapped into that. And then it 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 made it really difficult to kind of like reconcile with myself. And I don't know what happened in the more recent years, um, but I had to like forgive myself for
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I just started to think of it more in the way of like, um, and this is the more recent, in the last, this is not being like as willing and accepting as I can be with everyone and everything, and doing my best not to get sort of like bent out of shape or mad, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of that just acceptance,
Yeah.
and be a being of love, and not, and judge, and that, and the question of like, well, why can't you do that to yourself? How can you have that as something that is a focus and a goal in life towards others? However, when you turn it back on yourself, you are not worthy of any of that. And it was, I think, a moment, and that's still, because we talked about this a little bit the other day, and that's still
Mm-hmm.
something to, and it's not worthy. It's just, I don't, I think I know um, I know the potential negative consequences of leaning too far. I look at like how the Brooklyn Nets, all right, you got those two guys saying we don't need to be coached, we don't need this, we don't need that.
Yeah. Well.
And then so it's not it's trying to remain teachable, I think.
Yeah. Well, the current state of the NBA is an unteachable moment. Like that entire friggin' league. Like it's good lord. Like what you're seeing happen right now is a microcosm for exactly what the rest of society is like. And everybody's an expert. Everybody is very happy to regale you with their expertise, and nobody's expertise can be questioned or critiqued because it just can't be questioned or critiqued. It's like, I mean, we were talking about Kevin Smith, too fat for 40. I mean, it's now we're arcing all the way back to the beginning of our podcast, the beginning of our
Call back.
and right, and it's and if you didn't listen to that, go back and listen to it. But like it's all of that. It's I can't be critiqued. I can't be. But you know what? It's the logical end. It's the clearing at the end of the path of the whole. My morality is your morality. There is no absolute truth. There's just relative. My truth, your truth. Don't judge me. And then now here we are. Like here we are. We have $1 million athletes that are uncoachable. Or we have $1 million athletes that are like, I'm the greatest of all time, and they sat out the last like 2 games of a playoffs that they are not a playoffs of like getting the seed in the West that they could have actually gotten, and then they want to like thump their chest about how they're the greatest in the freaking league in comparison to, oh, I don't know, one of the greatest basketball players in the modern era, Michael James Jordan. But you know what? I'll just leave that aside, LeBron. He likes this side.
I think it's Jeffrey,
Yeah. It might be
Michael
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Jordan.
It doesn't matter. Jeffrey, James, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is he's got 6 rings and LeBron has how many? That's it.
I mean, it's I mean, his shoes are still dominate the market.
Still
His
dominating the league.
influence still. What a tremendous human being in the sense of like that mentality of like, I will not lose.
Okay, so buddy of mine, we're talking about this, and then we can switch to talking about the other stuff you got going on currently, because I do want to have time to kind of explore some of that with you. I'm going to hit you with this question. A buddy of mine he and I talk about this all the time. So Tom Brady came in, did the Tom Brady show for 12 years or whatever, however long he's been doing the Tom Brady show. Goes away for literally 3 seconds, can't deal with it, and is like back to finish up the Tom Brady show or to do more of the Tom Brady show. Okay. Is he probably going to wind up in an ignominious end, smashed underneath a 19-year-old? Probably. But, because that's usually what happens in that kind of arc in a physical game like football. That's not the question, though. But it is the foundation. It's the baseline for thinking about this idea. Tom Brady is 45 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's old enough to remember Michael Jordan the same way you and I are. He didn't have to watch Michael Jordan highlights on YouTube or TikTok. He saw Michael Jordan play. He saw Kobe play. I assert that we are the youngest end of the oldest generation that has actually seen actual excellence. I think subsequent generations are not going to see excellence, because in order to be excellent, you have to be willing to be coached, be critiqued, be able to sift between, you talked about guilt and shame, be able to sift between what's guilt and shame-based feedback, like Brene Brown would talk about, and what's genuine feedback designed to make you grow. And you have to be strong enough internally and resilient enough internally to be able to do that. And we're the youngest end of the oldest generation that actually was okay with not being liked. Like, that's not the driving thing because we didn't care about social media because we all got grafted into that crap. It wasn't the thing that we were actually born into, that where our peers confronted us or didn't and all that. Like, I asked somebody this today in a different context. How many times in your life between 12 and 18, with everything you were doing, did you get in a fist fight? Like, how many times did you get punched in the mouth?
Me?
Right, yeah, you.
Oh, I've never been touched.
You've never been touched? Okay. I got punched in the mouth a ton of times.
I mean, I fucked some shit up. I got a few fights. You know, I got in a fight in college, the tight end or the defensive end.
Oh.
Knocked on my bedroom or my dorm room door. And he was like, "Why were you laughing at me and my girlfriend?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, I wasn't laughing. We were drinking." He lived down the hall or whatever. And so he's like, "You're coming out in the hallway and we're fighting." And I was like, "Dude, I don't want to fight. I have a friend in here, man." Right. And he's like, and he kept knocking on the door. And I was like, "All right." And I was, 160 pounds, just living on booze. And we went out in the hallway and he's just looking at me. And I went out. Well, I took my shirt off, of course.
Yeah, of course.
and he was looking at me, and I like put my left foot behind his foot, and I pushed him down, and I just got on top of him. I just like started punching him in the head. Yeah. And his girlfriend grabbed this chain that I was like wearing in the 90s, like a skater thing or whatever. Of course. And I wasn't really paying attention, or someone did that, and it kind of hurt. There was a black and blue mark of the etched chain around my neck, and without thinking that there was, and I turned and I punched her in the head. Yeah. And so
now it's the way of the gun opening. Now we're doing that. You're Ryan Philippe.
Yeah. So that's whoa.
That's a deep cut.
So that's really good. And it was the couple fights that we're in, it was booze related, and it was and so that's it. So never.
But think about that act of physical altercation. Like, anybody who's making a TikTok video and shadow banning people that they don't like from parties on Instagram is not getting into a physical fight. I think all of those things pile together. The lack of appropriate confrontation skills, the lack of ability to be physical, the lack of ability to take critique, the lack of ability to be coachable. All this piles together, and this is the assertion that I make to a buddy of mine, I don't think we're going to see excellence like Tom Brady or Kobe or Michael Jordan in the places where we normally would have seen it, which would have been sports or celebrity. I think we're done with that as a culture until we've refined all of those things again. Now, are there people walking around right now in the millennial generation and in the Gen Z generation and whatever they want to call Gen Alpha, whatever the hell they want to call it? Are the Gen Prime? I don't know. I've heard
The
crappy
Indigo
things.
Children.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Are there people who are walking around with those kinds of scars? Sure, okay, maybe. But like, if your biggest emotional scar is that your cell phone got taken away, not that like you mouthed off to somebody and they hauled off and tried to punch you in the mouth and you actually had to physically defend yourself. Well, I mean, okay, you've learned a different kind of thing. And this gets back to the idea of what it means to be a man also, but let's just leave that aside for just a second. I'm not saying that physical confrontation is better than emotional confrontation. What I'm saying is the act of resiliency, the growth of that skill set leads to the development of excellence because you realize that not everything is going to be given to you. Sometimes you have to take it, to paraphrase from Barack Obama. Okay. If we have this entire couple of generations that are now focused on things that were given to them because we gave it to them, and by the way, it's our fault, not theirs. We gave it to them. They just lived in the world as was. Okay. Are we going to see excellence? Are we going to see excellence at the Tom Brady level? Because here's one of the greatest quotes about Michael Jordan ever. I think it was Dan Marley said this about him. He came not to just kill you, but to cut your heart out. I don't see that from LeBron. I like Kevin Durant, and I thought he had that in him, but I don't think so anymore.
I mean, Giannis is kind of the closest to, if you follow, but I mean, he's the closest in the sense of like, I will, like, this is not my body.
Right.
It is sacrificed for,
Well,
you know,
like, I mean,
and he
when your
stayed in
teammate,
Milwaukee.
right. Like when your teammates aren't doing well, are you going to subtweet them or are you going to get in their face? Like, what are we doing here? And sports is the rawest place where you see this. I'm not saying, I want to be very clear on this. I'm not saying that there's only one route to excellence. I'm saying the route to excellence that we have seen. Are we going to see people walk that route again? Or is that done? And we're going to have to look for excellence in different places.
Well, I remember it was either it was a few days after Kobe died.
Mm-hmm.
We talked on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I don't know why, and this is really surprising to me, but Kobe dying has had a much greater effect on me than I could have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly what you just said. It was the last sort of bastion of excellence available, or in the public eye, or in the culture, or in.
I'll narrow it down even further. In basketball, like I think we're done with excellence in basketball. I think it's on. I think it's over. I think we're done.
And it helped kind of enter that concept into like my personal equation.
Yeah. Okay.
And because I have a lot to say on the relationship stuff, on like kind of the journey or path that I've been on, and why everything like I'm over the fact that in the societal norm, when compared up against that, it's fucking taking me forever. But you know what? I don't. It's like once removing like time from the equation, in the sense of like a succession of things in order to get to it's not, and so kind of doing that makes everything else this more fluid thing. And I think it's why I've been bartending for a few years, and you know, it's I can work when we were at Regio. I mean, I felt like we worked well together, right?
Yeah, like you were the person who could go out and talk to the talent because I could not I didn't have the capacity at that time, and I still really don't. I've gotten a little bit better at it because I just had to over the course of the last few years. But you were the one who could go out and talk to the talent in a meaningful way, and get them to commit to doing crazy things like, I don't know, producing 4 poems a week instead of their usual half a poem. You could like persuade them into production in a
That's
way
what
where,
I'm saying.
right, in a way
Yeah.
where I would just be like, just shut up and dance, monkey. And, you know, and because I look at the work, so I have a much more, I blogged about this, taking off of an idea from Isaac Asimov. You have writers and then you have artists, right? Or not writers, I'm sorry. You have typists and then you have artists, right? And very much sometimes over the course of many years, it would be a situation where I was a typist. Just shut up and do the work. It's the Stephen Pressfield idea. Just shut up and do the work. Show up, do the work, type the thing. It's going to suck and it doesn't matter. You need to do the work. You need to build the muscle, right? And if you're spending so much time not building the muscle because you're being precious about a thing, and by the way, I run into this quite a bit in my business with working with graphic designers sometimes, or instructional designers. You know, when you work with those folks, sometimes researchers, sometimes they could be so precious about the thing that they don't actually produce the thing, right? And so being precious about the work doesn't lead to more excellence. It's just hiding. And so you're either going to be Isaac Asimov, who by the way wrote 400 novels, only a handful of which
one
were
of those
good.
prolific and on topics that are
Unbelievable. Yeah. But what he did was he decided to get up. Stephen Pressfield talks about this in The War of Art. He got up and he decided to work. That's what he did. He decided to type. That's what he did. Whereas you get Donna Tartt, who's written like,
hey buddy,
freaking like, I think like 5 books in 20 years. And she's done excellence, but it's on the long haul. Hold on a second. Charlie Daniels Band is in heavy rotation in my house.
Oh, okay. All right. It's interesting.
He's trading it up. He's switching it up. So, you know.
The wheels on the bus go round and round as taking a back seat to.
It's passe. It's time to up the game. And he's already doing one-handed push-ups.
Whoa.
And I'm like, wow, well, you continue to lap me. Well, that's fine.
Well, I think I forget who was talking about it. It's like, oh no, it was Norm Macdonald. Like, yeah, I used to let my kid beat me at basketball when he's young, and then he got to an age where he actually was beating me, and he said, you know, I wish I had not done that because, you know, he thought he's been kicking my ass this entire time.
I always make sure to tie or just barely beat, or at least get the impression that I'm just barely beating.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a little, you know, ubiquitous trophy. Are you giving a try? Are you giving him a unicorn? I like it.
Don't get me wrong. We're trying to encourage excellence around here. Don't get me wrong. No, there's plenty of spaces for me to lean on him. Oh yeah, there's plenty of those.
Well, I'm just yeah. I mean, you know, messing around, and yeah. But if you don't do that, there's the potential for quitting.
Correct. Right. So it's a fine line,
yeah,
right?
And
then again, that ties into the excellence, idea. There's a fine line for what you like. Yeah. Okay, LeBron. Yeah. Okay. You run 3 rings. I can't take that away from you. You did win 3. They were with super teams, but whatever. You did win 3. What is it? 3, 4 rings, whatever it was you won. You are, 6'8" and 3 something. Okay, cool. With like a 64-inch wingspan. Okay, great, cool. Okay.
Complete freaking nature.
Complete freaking nature. Yeah. Good. The thing you were supposed to do was that. Like that, to me, that's table stakes. Again, those are table stakes. Going beyond just that is where excellence lies. That's where you get to be heroic. Like, and by the way, this is not just basketball. So like, if I'm going to a restaurant, I would rather have a waiter or waitress that's seeking to be excellent in their role in food service because that's the role they've picked. And so that's the thing they're going to be excellent at. And you're not doing it, and you may be doing it. You may be doing it for whatever your motivations are. I don't need to know those. I'm here as a customer to have a service and have a service-based interaction with you, maybe build a little bit of a tiny relationship and move on. Like that, I trust me, I know what my role is. And my role is to like not give you a bunch of nonsense and not make your life miserable, to not get in the way of you doing the thing that is excellent. Okay. Or if you're a street sweeper, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote about this, right? Be the most excellent street sweeper so that the angels of heaven, when you die, are waiting for you to show up and sweep the streets of heaven because they can't do it better than you can. Mm-hmm. I don't think that that's a concept that is around anymore. And when you and I were at Regio, you did an excellent job of getting the creatives to do more in that space and to cross over that arc between like I'm a precious person to being a typist and doing the work. Stephen Pressfield before Stephen Pressfield. But then my job, and this is fundamentally how I looked at it, my role was to be the guy, and I kind of did it with this jazz festival we just did recently. My job is to do all the unsexy stuff that needs to happen. Like I'm going to go have a conversation with Dr. whoever about like why we need money, because Ryan doesn't want to go have that conversation about why we need money. Like that he's going to forget it. That's not going to.
It may spin. The wheels would potentially fall off that wagon, and by the time on the way back, there's a completely different wagon. It's like wait a minute,
we need the wagon that we started with. We need that one.
What just happened? Like, dude, we're in Pennsylvania now. What,
right? And
you're running a cult? Jesus Christ! What happened?
What is going on? I don't understand. And no, we're not. We're not doing that. But that's my role, right? And that's what I do well even now is like make sure the wheels stay on the bus. That's all you gotta do. Just make sure the wheels stay on the bus and do the little things that nobody's going to thank you for and nobody's going to give you claps for to keep the wheels on the bus. And I see so many people unwilling to do the things that are going to keep the wheels on the bus. Or maybe I'm looking in the wrong spaces. I'll grant you that. Maybe there is excellence out there that I'm missing. Because I'm looking in all these other places and maybe I'm looking to not find it. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is excellence everywhere and I'm just ignorant to it. It's all over Instagram somewhere.
Well, I think it is. Okay. I was listening to a female rapper talk about, she did a song with Eminem and the interviewer was like, what was it like working with Eminem? And she was just like Eminem just is like, that's it. Like he's the thing. And it's that sort of like, it's, I think we're, confidence, affinity, aptitude, and drive and commit to excellence. It's like, are we going to see another David Bowie making music for?
We're not going to see another David Bowie. We're not going to see another Freddie Mercury.
Prince,
I was watching a video the other day with what's his name? What's his name from Wham? George
Michael.
George Michael, right? And my wife and I were sitting there, and she's like, it was some video from the 80s. And he was very pretty. He was a very pretty man. And I even said that. She's like, I was thinking exactly that. Like, yep. that's why I love you. We're both there. And he was, but there was not a hair out of place of that feathered hair. His eyebrows were perfect. The sculpting on his cheekbones was perfect because he understood fundamentally that I'm putting on a show here, and the show has to be excellent for me to sell the music, but I've got the voice. So the selling is the thing on top. And I just see, and maybe it's a function of the internet, there's just so much slapdash stuff just thrown out there because the internet's a free distribution platform. So you can just slapdash together this, slapdash together that, throw that thing out there. And if it doesn't work, you can be like, oh, well, it was the internet. No, it was that you didn't put in the effort. But then if you do put in the effort, you get like 3 likes and you're like, what the hell? I put in all that effort and nobody cared. Right. Because either it wasn't aligned properly or you didn't talk to the right people in the right place. Or like people ask me this all the time about publishing books. They're like, well, like, are you going to be a New York Times bestselling author? I'm like, probably not. But like, that's not the point that I'm trying to make with my book. I'm not trying to be a New York Times bestselling author. If it happens, I'm not going to turn it down. But the difference between me throwing out something out there that's slapdash and not well put together that rises to the New York Times bestseller list and something that only 3 people buy, my mom, you, and like some other random dude somewhere. Like, okay, but at least I affected 3 people. I'm gonna but you spent $10,000 on that doing that book. Yeah, well, so like it's only money. Like it'll come back.
You know what?
And I don't think people can't they can't justify both sides of that equation, and that's where you see the decline in excellence too.
Well, by the way, I have a stack of books that are more like reference books that I just kind of like always go to. This literary theory book. I have an old poetry textbook that has the fundamentals of scansion in the back. I have this M. Scott Peck book called not the Road Less Travel. It's called Community and Peacemaking. It's called The Different Drum, Community and Peacemaking, and a bunch of others. But your book is in that pile of things of like, and it's one of those things. William James, A Variety of Religious Experience. It's one of those things where you can, a person, I flip through it, like any one of those things. I'm sure it's kind of like resist taking this. It's kind of, I'm sure, like the Bible. You flip open and start reading, and you go, there's like a wealth of information no matter where you turn to in this. And I think part of the reason, as far as like the creative aspect, for me, and just like trying to, when I'm in that zone of just like, dude, just I work a lot of inertia. So when I start moving, it's a bit frenetic and but art is also patient, and art is also frenetic, and seizing those particular moments. So in that time, it's just like you said a second ago, there could be excellence out there, but there's all these other variables. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places, X, Y, and Z, whatever. But in those moments where I am flipping, like I'm stuck on a poem or a short story, and I need to interface with something that's going to sort of like block or take me out of whatever the train of thought was going, that is blocking me from continuing on with whatever the pieces I'm working on. Flipping open to any one of those books and reading a few paragraphs or a few pages, and there is, kind of like all of the answers exist. It's just, it's like, it's like, I don't know what people say about Michelangelo carving, like it was in the marble.
It was in the marble the entire time. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the books. I wanted to give you time to talk about the books. So you got a book out there. Talk about the book, show the book, and then talk about your other projects and the fundraiser that you're interested in, or not interested, but that you want our support and help with.
So the name of the book, and I am it's probably not good that
we'll have links to his book.
I let someone borrow the last copy, and well, it doesn't matter. It's called Exploration After Death: a Painting. And the goal of the book was to document, in a way, there are how-to books, how to make your bed for dummies, or how to, whatever. And the thought I couldn't get off of was, in reference to the near-death experiences or the coming back to life experiences, whichever one, is there's no manual for that. It's like, what do you do when you're just the tail end of sort of electromagnetic impulses staying alive through grace,
Hmm.
and then coming back and being like, oh, and there's this completely, I mean, it has affected me. It affects me to this very day in a way that is very difficult to uh, speak about in in a way that isn't 100% completely ambiguous. It's like with, I think that is how poetry took the front seat, because it's creating a world. It can create a world. Has access to, and that is why it's called a painting. Because my goal was to have, much like when people listen to music, certain music, it can trigger the brain to have visuals. And so my goal for the book was for the reader to see, to, almost like one of those flip books, magic flip books or whatever, and you see that was the goal, was for people to get so um, creatively inspired in their mind's eye for what the words and the scenery was on the page, that they're creating their own sort of world as a response to what I'm saying. Um, so there's that. And then um, the nonprofit is, so my friend Kyle Corbett, his nephew is a kid by the name of Devin. He's I think 16 years old, and during a school trip or something like that, he in Colorado, he was skiing down a mountain, and there's an accident. He was helicoptered out of there, and he's brain damage, and I don't know if he can walk. I like, it's not good, and his family has dumped like millions of dollars into his care, and so Kyle worked with his family to start this charity. And what my goal is to spread it on the platforms that I use on a regular basis. Also, I work at a nonprofit, Finlay Market in Cincinnati, and Samantha is always looking for charities to kind of contribute towards. And so working with them, I would like to put on and set up or contribute to or outline or help in any whatever capacity I can. Uh, Maybe have Kyle come up here and play some shows. He is a magician on the guitar. It is crazy. It sounds like I'm being hyperbolic or whatever. No, it's freaking ridiculous. And it's just a tremendous artist and musician, and just fabulous human being. And see if it can kind of help put together something that would contribute towards that charity, that fund.
We'll have links to to both of the areas that Ryan has talked about so passionately today in the show notes below the podcast player of your choice, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes, anything through Overcast, TuneIn, or any of those other obscure networks. Even if you're listening overseas, which we do have several listeners in European countries, including Russia, and as well as in the Far East, in India and China. And so if you are interested in supporting Ryan and supporting the Corbett family, we will have links to that, as well as links to Ryan's book to be able to pick that up on Amazon.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else.
Well, else? I have, so I guess they would just be blogs. So one blog is the ghost2sellsmemories.com, and that is, there's the Corbett charity is linked in there. And it's also a bunch of my writing, primarily poetry. There's some maybe essays and short stories in there. I started a few years ago. It was interesting to look back, and it's like, you've had 200 posts, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I went by. And then then there's also the goes to sells memories.info, and that is kind of an outline of music. There's about 10 tracks on there that have been kind of recorded at different places. And there is, I do want to talk about how the Ghost Who Sells Memories came into existence. So
Yeah,
there is a Tom Waits song called Tom Traubert's Blues. It's the first song off the 1976 album Small Change. And Tom Traubert's Blues, and in parenthetical notation, it is 4 Sheets to the Wind in Copenhagen, and then or just Waltzing Matilda. And so Waltzing Matilda is a Australian term, meaning you're just kind of like homeless and wandering with no destination. And so that's the waltzing is. And Matilda is a kind of a fashioned, you take like your sleeping apparatus, and then enrolled in that is all of your possessions thrown over your back. And so Waltzing Matilda. So there's also a unofficial national anthem of Australia called Waltzing Matilda. And so that's the name of the song. And one of the lines in the song is, and the ghosts who sell memories. And I love the image. I think it's brilliant. And so to avoid plagiarism, the ghost who sells memories, it's however, maybe I should change it, because it would be awesome to have Tom Waits just knock on the door one day and
start grumbling with
that
cigarette-ridden voice of his.
and so it kind of like turned into what you were saying before about open mics. Is after a period of just kind of like isolation, COVID and this and that, one day I said I'm going to go to I need to get out of the apartment, and went to an open mic, and I read a few things, and it was well received, but I didn't like not looking out at the crowd. And so the next time I went, this is what I do now, is I just get on stage and I just start sort of like kind of like stories from my sordid past. And it has turned into kind of a comedy, and which is the goal and intent. And I think that's what the goal and intent the entire time. After a certain point of the act of addiction was, at a certain point, you're just alone. It's a very isolating existence. And so I had to figure out ways to entertain myself. And so that along with that came a lot of interesting decisions. And so that's kind of like a branch of that sort of creative thing. And so that's all the stuff. And I can't thank Jesan enough for getting in touch and allowing and having this opportunity to kind of talk about it. Some of these things here. And the last thing I do want to say.
Oh, and one more thing. He's like Steve Jobs. Would you like to see one more thing?
One more thing. Well, there's actually two. There's one more thing, but there's kind of two more things.
Kind of two more things.
Okay. So the one thing is, I was listening to the first interview, and I talk about my brother, my sister, in a way, as far as like like a gauge of intelligence. So it has what value does something have if it cannot be applied? And they have both. And one of the reasons I feel comfortable saying what I said is because we I have had that conversation with them over the years, and it
Mm-hmm.
hasn't always been started by me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's them being like, "Hey, dude, you can do this, but you're not and so I mean, I cannot do what they have done. I
Mm-hmm.
look at that. It is a puzzle. If I had all the pieces, I would make a different. I would be jamming it just, and it
It
would
just
be
wouldn't
mess.
work.
It would not work at all. And so, like, they're the two of my favorite people,
Mm-hmm.
and what they've been able to accomplish and are still accomplishing is commendable. And I tell them that all the time. Uh, so there's that.
There's that.
And so the last thing is I do have kind of a short story that I was going to read.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is called, and at some point in here, well, fuck it. When I say when I say I'm blue, I mean I'm hypoxic. I come to in a daymare's dream. I turn to my 9 o'clock level of certainty, toes on edge, fingertip blood, razor blade eyes. I sway on a cliff of epistemic doubt and philosophical skepticism. This did happen. The two-lane highway rumbles below America's transcontinental commerce and touts rubber, metal, and steel, capitalism's perpetual erection in tow. Bracelet widgets, my pet limp ball, trading cards, plastic, cups, toys, tables, cables, hoses, horses, chairs, pens, linoleum flooring, every flavor of sugar-free soda, rusty oil drums packed with human lard, pallet upon pallet of Kardashian logoed pink Uggs, stained with the blood of yellow fingertips and obsidian flesh. And as America's black diesel breath puffs by, Polly is asleep in the passenger seat. And every 10 miles or so, she attempts to gesture in my direction. But her dream state heavy-eyed puppy diagnosis adheres to the intransigent will of her nascence, as if fully compressed by exhaustion's weight. And well, fuck the naysaying epistemics of my previous paragraph's philosophical skepticism. I need to get off the road. Stat. As we carve a path through the hummus colored scenery, it undulates with synonymic aspirations and delight, while the white jello mold clouds overhead throb and swell like the bulges of 10-year abstinent troops of Cosbian hyenas frothing at the mouth, their rapacious gaze focused on the house party's couch passed out pony. Methed out truckers pop saccharine pillows of horsehoof sweets between hourly self-gratification sessions and Maury Povich episodes. The black hole pupil of my cyclopic eye smashed against the windshield like a seasoned chef's nicotine-stained fingers pressing ground baby meat into manageable sized patties. We speed along an X and Y axis of some wannabe surreal desert dystopia, the sun a molten globe on a gaffer's blowpipe. My eyes adjust like an eclipse staring child. Car tiles grip the sweltering road like dime store magic tricks or blowflies caught on a yellow ribbon of doom. The road requires my full attention. I squint through the insect decimated windshield. The road escapes via thermodynamics, illusory Newtonian defiance. The gray road evaporates in the direction of Middle America's House of God. And like an irrationally confident frog leaping across a 6-lane highway, this mechanical beast weaves through the kaleidoscopic aridness. I am equal parts panic and safety seeking when I pull off the road. Our chariot lumbers in next to a gas pump. This establishment is an obvious front for a local governmental official a local governmental official's pedophilistic sex trafficking operation. At the second pump, I park and I leave the car running. As I exit the vehicle, I look to confirm the pump number. I use a spare key to lock the door and head into the smart part of the gas smart. My mental fog weighted blue to burnt orange wrapped in damp gray silk vacillations. My mental fog has a bad knee, and his wife just left him, and she took everything of value with her, even the Billie Holiday coffee table coasters. Savage. I devise a plan to our next destination unknown. Two things are certain. I need cocaine and I need a drink. And outside of minor logistical interferences, this should present no significant problems. Gas Mart corner the hot pocket video poker market of anywhere Nevada, desert, USA. Grating fluorescent lights reflect the perverted neglect apparent on each cigarette-stained countertop and rust-flaked shelf. My survey finds Kiwi Lime Mad Dog and No Frills 20-ounce paper cups with the 90s purple and blue markings, detesting all viable chances of classic aesthetic markings. Through straws from paper cups. However, I gather sundries. I use the restroom to empty my bladder and collect my thoughts. A man is walking out as I enter. I splash my face with cold water and give myself a barely audible pep talk, a series of 2 grunts with a questioning inflection. I dry my face as I walk into the stall, which is relatively clean. An exhale leaves me. I'm relaxed. I fish a gram of cocaine from the makeshift pocket I cut into the zipper flap of my green cargo shorts. God is good. It is fluffy and dry. I twist off her wings and empty a dime-sized serving into my left hand's biological snuff box. My right hand deftly retwists the baggie and returns the package from whence it came. I press my right thumb to my right nostril and form an airtight seal. A fierce inhale through my left nostril follows. My eyes glaze, my body goosebumps, and I exit the stall and restroom. The smart is now empty, except for a lone employee behind the counter. His appearance and demeanor are an amalgam of every convenience smart clerk ever. The clerk is languorous and gobsmacked by the crepuscular brilliance of the setting sun. He looks poetic and peaceful, and a part of me hopes his trance is broken before I arrive to the counter. I am envious of his peaceful gaze. It is tranquil and beautiful. It seems to stop time, like an orchestra of melodious crickets, lulling a full plate moon to sleep. Stuff my cargo pockets with the following items: 2 bags of Jack Link's beef jerky, 2 12-ounce paper cups, 2 lids and straws, and 2 bananas. Lastly, I grab 2 bottles of Kiwi Lime Mad Dog and carry them to the checkout counter. As I empty my pockets on the counter, I say, "That's the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen." Without breaking his stare, he says, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's why I keep this job." I say, "A better reason than most. If that is not proof of a higher power type entity, I'm not sure what is." "Amen," he says. I say, "I'll take these items, a pack of Camels and $30 on pump 2. By the way, I didn't want to interrupt the sunset. Do you mind if I grab these cups, lids, and straws? If you have to charge me, I understand." I hand him cash while he answers. He says, "They're on the house. From one sunset admirer to another." "Thank you, kind sir. Appreciate that," I say. As he brown bags the order, I say, "Oh, one last thing. About how many miles outside of Vegas are we?" Quasi inaudible, automatic response, a hair north of 26 mile. So that's that.
That is indeed that. Thank you, Ryan Stout.
Thank you kindly, sir. I'll be talking to you soon. And thank you, whoever is listening to this. Much love, brother.